And we're back in the Underground Reservoir. That's pretty exciting. I especially love killing these guys, the Cognazos. They have kind of a recycled model in the later parts of the game. I think there are like 3 enemies that share the exact same model and give you different effects if you're hit by them. But nonetheless, there's something about their design just really appeals to me. So as it turns out, they only actually reused 2 models. The 3rd model doesn't have a trident, but, the body looks pretty much the same, so I figured it's pretty much the same model. Either way, they fit amazingly well within the confines of this, demon coming from Dante's Inferno or Dante's Divine Comedy kind of a thing, because they actually directly come from that work. So these 3 guys over here, Cognazo on the left, Lubricant in the middle, and Scarmione, or Scarmione, it's Italian, I'm not sure, is on the right. So all 3 of these guys are actually from Dante's Divine Comedy. The more you know. So I'm pretty okay with that. Alright, there are a lot of things in the Underground Reservoir, so I'm pretty excited to show all of it off. For example, this item is not supposed to be here. Rahab's sword. Or is it Rahab? I'm not really well versed in all the historical and religious aspects of things, so I don't really know. But it has a pretty little animations, something that reminds me of Cinderella, so I guess I'll stick with it. There are also some cool little enemies down here, I really like them. For example, Nightmare has a great model, great design. Something about the color scheme of black and red just really appeals to my eye, and in general, whoa, let's make sure I don't get killed here, and in general, I just really like the idea of a horse that's too wild to be tamed. It has a certain mystique of danger to it that I think fits Dracula's castle really, really well. Alright, I'm bored of this new sword already, by the way, so I'm gonna switch to the Claimh Solais so that I have my standard OP-ness. I also really like this track too. I think it's kind of underrated, just in the sense that it really sets the tone for the more climactic and more powerful scene that's up to come. It's actually called the Arena. I was almost gonna say the arena that's up to come, and then realized, whoops, wait a second, that might be a little too punny. I always think I know this guy's attack patterns, and I try to react accordingly, but sometimes he ends up doing kind of the opposite thing as something I would expect, and I end up thinking, dang, that was a total misreading, right? As an example, when Big Golem goes to spew out rocks, I always think, okay, I gotta go back. But there's some drift away, some nuance to that I miss, and because of that I end up looking like an idiot when I get to that fight. Not a big deal, because it works pretty well, but it does say something about my specific timing within each fight. Alright. Truth be told, I'm not really sure if I'm going the right way. Is there anything up here? Or can I proceed into that scary-looking crevice over there? I think I can go into that scary-looking crevice over there. Oh, there's just a fish here. Never mind. For some reason, I must have confused this one with the one that's up ahead. Alright. That's one thing I don't like about the vertical areas in this game, by the way, is just that you have to methodically take out each enemy before you actually end up making any progress. So it turns out I actually went to the wrong place, by the way. I know I'm kind of going on multiple different trains of thought here, jumping between them like I'm Nathan Drake or something. But it is kind of interesting how I can go so many different places, just zip around the castle, and say, oh hey, I have no idea where I'm going. In that sense, this map promotes a kind of adventure, I think, that games like Super Metroid and indeed Symphony of the Night, the one that came before this, do. Okay, so as it turns out, one, I got a nice soul there, lets me swap HP and NP and enemies, and that's important just because later in the game, there are some enemies that can only be killed if you use that soul. Alrighty, so I'm back to where I was earlier. Really good backtracking skills on my part. So there were a couple interesting things that happened. One was that I got a soul that increases my constitution, which is defense and constitution. Wow, this game really does a great job at specific stat naming. So I was curious about this when editing, so I thought I'd actually look it up. Constitution, it says up here, with this really cool Richter cursor, by the way. In Aria of Sorrow, for every 2 points of Constitution earned, the character gains +1 defense. So basically, if you want to calculate Soma's defense, you just add his regular defense to 1/2 his Constitution. I don't know why they wanted to add 2 separate stats for defense, but whatever works. Anyway, I also gained an interesting little weapon called Mach Punch, which caught my eye because I really like Breloom, and it means I can punch things to death. That's a lot of fun. I look kind of like Chuck Norris or the Karate Kid with that kind of get-up, so I'm pretty excited for that. I'm going to speed through this room because that enemy raises a time bomb, basically, that kills you pretty quickly if you don't take care of it or get out of that room as fast as humanly possible. So let's see. In this room, I have a couple options. First of all, one option would be to stay alive and stay away from that devil. Alright, now that I'm a little more situated, I can kind of explore this room. So at the top, if I can ever get up there, goodness gracious, this is a regular obstacle course. Alright, let me just get a potion in real quick so I'm sure I won't die. Okay. And this is one of the scarier platforming segments of this game, where you have to navigate the enemies and the platforms, line it up at such a nice time that you're sure you can actually make the jump, and of course, you can't succumb to the enemies trying to hit you. You know what? Forget it. Maybe the loot in that room isn't as important as I thought it was. Alright, so it turns out hitting things with my fists is not... Wow, it's like a siren that celebrates my death. Alrighty, I'm back in the scary room, and hopefully I won't trigger the demon too much. I've got my Claimh Solais involved too, because I don't think I have the manual dexterity required to actually get through this room without it. It's also important to note, I think, that I'm playing this game randomized and I sequence broke, which means that I am not exactly in the best condition to kind of make my way through more of these dexterous rooms. Can I make it? Nice. Alright, awesome. At this point, I'm okay because the scary part of the room is over. So if I clip Undyne here, I can show off the warp room. That's at the very top left here. There we go. Now I can get back to this room without too much of a headache. And there's something else that's cool. Cool thing is, if I come through here, then there's actually a waterfall. And so, if I were to go through this waterfall with a set of 2 souls, I think it's Undyne, which lets me stand on water, so that's the Jesus soul, and also Curly, I can go through here and go to the forbidden area. So that's pretty exciting. Let's go ahead and give that a shot. Woo! Very nice. Alright, I want to equip my good souls now, specifically Black Panther. Hopefully I can make it through here, because I'm really keen to show off... I'm going to heal here just so I don't die. I'm really keen to show off a unique location here. So this forbidden area, as it's called, is what gets you the best weapon in the game, this Claimh Solais. So I'm actually kind of curious what the randomizer has put in its place, so we're taking a brief detour to kind of get there now. So you have to go to this totally out of the way location, and that will give me an ability soul. I can't believe that detour is actually worth it. Alright, Kicker Skeleton, that's pretty exciting. So I've talked about this in previous parts, I think. Kicker Skeleton essentially just lets me, once I double jump, which apparently I don't have enough jumps I can exhaust in water, I'll show that off in the next room. But once I double jump, I can go, woo, and really just fly through rooms. I've seen Tasses use that so effectively that it looks like Soma is on some sort of drug. Some sort of stimulant, right? Because what they do is they double jump, frame perfectly, and then they kick their skeleton, and then sometimes they have sliding and sometimes they don't, but either way they get some sort of horizontal displacement that's really impressive. Oh my goodness, I was not anticipating that, and I almost died as a result. I would have actually survived with like 60 HP, but given my dexterity with this game, I choose to subtract 100 at any given time, just to make sure that I have enough health to stay alive. Grab the high mind up there, so that's pretty cool. And now, I can get knifed, apparently. That's always a pleasant sensation. Now, I can come through here and make my way back to the original section. I'm fairly sure that I actually left Flame Demon on the vanilla setting. So sometime I'll grind for that and hopefully get that. Either that or I can die and someone can bleed out. The death count must be at 2 or 3 at this point. Well, that's pretty cool. even though I don't have that saved, at the very least, I, and indeed you guys, have the knowledge of what's over there. And knowledge is really all that's important in this randomizer run. Alright, so now I'm back, and just for continuity's sake, going back to like part 2, I think, if I come up here and I hit this, oh, apparently I have to step on it, I can't just attack it, but if I come up here, voila, we're back in the study. And of course I have the right ability to actually go through there. Woohoo! We're back in the study. I'm gonna actually pop up to the save room real quick, just so that I can actually get the warp room that I unlocked in the Underground Reservoir into the game's memory. Thank goodness, right? Now I don't need to worry about going through that section yet again. Okay, wonderful. So now I'm back in this room, and I'll gain a power-up later on that actually lets me become a bat so I can soar way, way up to the top of this room. For right now, suffice it to say that there's very little I can do. Ooh, I got seated. That's kind of rough. And the damage occurs so quickly, you have to make sure... Oh, got seated again. Oh, or not. I might have warded that off with my sword. Either way, it's fine. Also, I'll put an image up on the screen, but it's kind of interesting how Mudmen, the things I was fighting earlier, kind of have that religious imagery to them. You know, God made man, and man made... I don't know, there's some kind of... Ooh, Olrox's suit, how interesting. I'm not going with armor, but that's actually the best thing I have. Anyway, there's a lot of religious imagery to this game, which is interesting given its futuristic tone. So, I feel like the juxtaposition of that is actually quite unique, and kind of marks the tone of what makes the Sorrow games, this and Dawn of Sorrow, more remarkable in the greater scheme of the whole Castlevania series. Okay, I'm gonna try not to let this guy sing to my death again. But I've got potions, and I've got OP souls, so I think I should be okay. You know, that's something else that's interesting. I think there's a third Triton, at which point I'll start talking about this. Isn't it cool how try, like, the word, actually has so many roots and creates so many different words? Like, you have Triton, because he's got, like... Actually, he's got 4 fishes there, not 3, so maybe that's not too valid. But he's got the Trident, and you've got the I forget what the gum is called, but I'm pretty sure there are more than 3 packs there, too. So, I guess my linguistic curiosities here are perhaps not the most sensible when it comes to counting.